Alright, if any of you know me on this channel, you'll know that I got a very curious mind, and somehow I ended up all the way back in the 1930s as a Gen Zer, right? Checking out what a day in the life was like for someone living in the 1930s. Now, from what I've heard, this was during the times of the Great Depression, so economic crisis, these were very difficult times, and considering how I live in a day and age where, you know, I've got a bed in the background, I've got, you know, LED lights, a phone, a camera, all of these things, to go back in time and see what life was like way before all of this technology took over is always going to be fascinating to me. But yeah, guys, look, this is my first time checking out Reading Through History's channel, so obviously if you haven't seen their channel, continue to check it out, and I'll leave their links where you can watch the full video if you want to watch it without skips. But guys, look, with that being said, let's get straight into the video. Let's go!
Every family was different in the 1930s, but there were some things that many of them had in common. What was day-to-day life like in the 1930s? What did families do? A typical family during the Great Depression would have consisted of a father, mother, and several children.
Okay.
The average day would commence with the father of the family leaving for work. That is, of course, if he was lucky enough to still be employed.
Wow.
Shortly after he had left, the children would leave for school. Most children walked to school or rode the school bus.
Okay.
The mother of the family usually did laundry on Monday mornings.
Wow.
Some families had new, labor-saving washing machines, but washing clothes by hand was still common.
Oh, that's different, man. Hand wash, like I'll be honest, like I've only had to hand wash my clothes twice in my life, man, and that was because the washer was being used. But the technology is different, man, and I can imagine. Yeah, that's wow. Well, like when you obviously I know these things are all new, these technological advancements, but like to see it and how it was is different, man.
Laundry on Monday mornings. Some families had new, labor-saving washing machines, but washing clothes by hand was still common.
Okay.
The clothes were hung out to dry on a clothesline.
Okay, wow.
Tuesday was ironing day. Some families had electric irons, but
Right.
many women still used a heavy, black, flat iron that was heated on the stove.
Oh my, that's how they people, I mean, that makes sense. Oh my days, I'm even deep in it, the iron. You had to heat it up on the stove and use that to press your clothes. Oh, that's different. That's different, man. Yeah, I've never seen that in my life. But you know what? Like it's making sense how that works, and I hear it. Like that's creative. But wow, electrics, wow.
Used a heavy, black, flat iron that was heated on the stove. The most common form of entertainment was the radio.
Oh my days.
Radio programs would entertain families throughout the day with various kinds of programming.
Jeez Louise.
During the day, soap operas would interest mothers while they worked in the home. After school, action and adventure programs for kids were common.
Bro,
in the
radios, man.
evening, programs that the entire family might enjoy would take over the airwaves.
Airwaves.
If the family didn't want to listen to the radio, they might choose to play a board game.
Nah, this is different though. Like sitting around, I can imagine me in this day and age. Imagine myself sitting around to hear a radio. That literally would be like torture nowadays. Like, funnily enough, but back in the day, this was the norm. This is what you found entertaining, which makes sense. And it's just like when you really put into perspective how different times were, like it makes me even appreciate the things I have a lot more, because it wasn't always like that, right?
Entire family might enjoy would take over the airwaves. If the family didn't want to listen to the radio, they might choose to play a board game, which were becoming popular in the 1930s. Sorry was released by Parker Brothers in 1934 and still remains popular today. By far, the most successful board game was Monopoly.
Wow.
This game gave people the chance to buy and sell property with money they could only dream of having.
Oh man, that's insane. No wonder why Monopoly. So Monopoly is like 1930s. I didn't realize how far back Monopoly went, and I can imagine the allure of a game like this, especially during the Great Depression, right? You play into that, you know. Imagine if you did have this money kind of trope, but board games literally even nowadays, like they're becoming extinct. Like people don't really be playing board games like that unless you're in primary school or like preschool, like in class.
Chance to buy and sell property with money they could only dream of having. On Saturday evening, it was common for a family to go shopping, if they had the money to do so.
Wow.
There were a variety of stores downtown, from shoe stores to clothing, sporting goods, and music shops. Most families didn't have a lot of money to spend at these stores. The average take-home pay was about $17 a week.
$17.
Some made as little as $7 a week.
Oh, wow.
Even doctors made only about $60 a week.
You know, he says only, but I'm pretty sure that's relative to the time, right? Like, $60, like, at that time now is probably equivalent to a lot more because of like inflation and stuff like that. But I can imagine, man, like, yeah, like even then to hitting 7 cents or 17 cents or $17 is different. That's crazy.
Money to spend at these stores. The average take-home pay was about $17 a week. Some made as little as $7 a week. Even doctors made only about $60 a week. The prices of products reflected
$60.
the economic conditions. A men's shirt cost about $1.
Wow.
A washing machine could be purchased for about $33.
Wow.
A winter coat might cost anywhere from $18 to $28. A milkshake cost 10 cents, and a bag of roasted peanuts could be purchased for a penny.
Jesus.
Since many families had so little money, certain things that were once commonplace became luxuries. For example, going to the barber was no longer an option for many families.
Wow.
Haircuts at home became standard practice. Families also stopped going to the dentist for regular checkups, and doctor visits were saved for very serious conditions. Some women even started giving birth at home in an effort to save money. Unfortunately, not every family could afford to go shopping or purchase new clothes. Some families were forced to patch shoes with rubber from worn-out tires.
That's different, man. This whole Great Depression really changed things, man. Crazy.
Were forced to patch shoes with rubber from worn-out tires. Even families that had once been affluent began dressing their children in hand-me-downs. The Great Depression made life extremely difficult for many people. Unemployment rates reached unbelievable numbers, with as much as 25% of the population unable to find work.
25%.
This meant that an estimated 13 to 15 million Americans did not have a job. Those looking for work were desperate. A business would advertise for 6 positions that needed to be filled, and more than 15,000 applicants would apply.
Oh my days.
Some of those...
Oh, that is insane. Unemployment is 25%, and then what? Damn.
And more than 15,000 applicants would apply. Some of those who couldn't find work began riding the rails. Known as hobos, they illegally boarded boxcars on trains, hoping to find work in the next town.
Wow.
Those who were fortunate enough to keep their jobs saw their wages slashed by as much as 60%. A worker who had once made $1 an hour would be reduced to 40 cents and be happy to have it. All across the nation, fathers who had once held important positions in companies were now searching dumpsters for their family's next meal.
You're joking. Searching dumpsters. Wow, this Great Depression is depressing indeed. Like, that must have really, that is insane. Like, most people are basically living like homeless. Or look, like, that's, to like, what you would say, the homeless person nowadays is probably the average person in this day and age. I don't know, like, maybe that's a mad comparison, but it's looking that way. Like,
and companies were now searching dumpsters for their family's next meal. Food was scarce for many. Cabbage soup became a common meal. Meat and vegetables could no longer be afforded. Some families even resorted to taking turns eating.
Wow.
Some members of the family would eat on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, while others would eat on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, with perhaps the entire family eating together on Sunday. In order to cut heating costs, families resigned to heating only one room of their house.
Oh my days.
They used many different heating sources, from wood to coal that they had found, or even corn cobs. In an effort to save money, many families shared homes.
Wow.
Some younger children were sent away to live with relatives in a different part of the country. In other cases, kids as young as 13 were told to leave home and go find work.
Crazy.
Obviously, every family was different, and each had its own set of circumstances. However, each family did everything it could to make it through one of the most difficult times in American history.
Yeah, that's different. Wow. Oh my days. The resilience you have to have, the perseverance, to persevere through that. The mental fortitude you have to build to equip yourself. Like from going from, like you said, for most people, like, such decent jobs, making an okay living, to just searching through dumpsters. That's a mad change that would have, I guess, depressed, probably where that name comes from, right? The Great Depression would have depressed a lot of people. But you see, it's so mad, it's so interesting, all the ways, all these, like from this video, they showed how people had to adapt. And it makes you also just like, especially me, it makes me really appreciate, like I said, really appreciate the things that I have. Because I don't know, to think about heating and all of that stuff, like, it's like you don't realize the things you take for granted. Like, until I watch a video like this and I really just see like all the things that I'm enjoying now, like if me living how I'm living now, right, is like a freaking top 0.001% quality of life compared to like what was going on during the 1930s. If that. Wow, man. Look, you guys let me know what other videos you want me to check out, because this was insane. This is a shock. I can't believe that. Let me know what other videos you'll be interested to see me checking out, get a different perspective. Also, if you made this point, comment on a red heart. And let me know if any of you guys had some sort of experience with dealing with some of the effects of things like the Great Depression in the 1930s. I'll be very curious to find out. But guys, look, with that being said, I've been your boy JayFlex. This has been History Brief Daily Life in the 1930s. And you guys made this point have been absolutely wonderful. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.